He tells me it's the reason you're all here. He's going to talk to you for a little while about DNA testing and why we should personalise and individualise our training through DNA testing. And then between Chris, James and Eddie, we're going to have a little bit of a chat and a bit of banter and hopefully get to speak to the man himself. So I'll hand you over to Chris and I'll be back in about 20-30 minutes.
Hello. Big crowd. So thank you very much. I suspect you're here not to listen to me, but to engage with a certain special guest. So I'm going to be as quick as possible. But what I do want to do is just introduce Mudu, what we're about and why we're about, and hopefully talk a bit about why we might be an interesting partner for some of the people in this room. Then we're going to hand over to Eddie and James, and they're going to talk about what we've been doing in terms of working together and how we've been working with Eddie. There'll be time for kind of questions at the end, so we'll leave time for that. Also, Eddie's going to kindly come back to our stand at J78 after the session, so if there's any further questions or selfies that need to be done, then that's an opportunity. Okay? So, Mudu, I'll be very quick, but basically our business hopes to achieve two things. The first is, why won't we have a digital destination that is purposely the signature destination for health and fitness? You know, you have shopping, you have Amazon, you have friendship, you have Facebook, you have business, you have LinkedIn. We want to be the signature destination for health and fitness. I'm not suggesting we're going to be the size of Amazon anytime soon, but what we want to be is a gender neutral site, digital destination that's dedicated to everything from canoeing to karate, everything from training, fitness, nutrition, supplementation, recovery, everything, the whole plethora of what this great industry does. We want to be the content point for that in the digital landscape. It's not there yet, it's a journey that's happening. We already have 87,000 unique visitors a month, and by the end of the year, we're hoping to have 1 million unique visitors a month to the site. And the relevance for you guys, I guess, is we want to have a place that's a celebration of what we do, a place where we case study all of the things that the fitness and conditioning coaches do, the nutritionists do, everything that goes on in our industry. Why wouldn't we have a place to celebrate that? And we want that to be mudu.com. So that's the first thing. The second thing that Mudu is about is science, and particularly the science of genetics. So a big partition of our site relates to DNA profiling. And again, we think that genetics is fundamentally going to reshape our industry. I mean, the hard reality is your fat burn, your muscle build, and your endurance are in your genes. Health and fitness is in your genes. And our whole philosophy is, if we can listen to our body, if we can work with our body, we can make your objectives easier and far more efficient to achieve. And so in the in the DNA partition of the site, we have a DNA profiling offer that then offers you feed back your goals to us, your personal goals, and then we spit out a personalized program that looks at your nutrition, your training, your recovery, your nutrition, your supplementation, detailed exactly for you. And we think that genetics is going to shape the future for supplementation, for foods, for drinks, for everything. There'll become a future where the mineral water you drink will be designed for you. The minerals in it will be the minerals that your body needs, not genetic mineral water. And what we think we are is a part of that journey, start of that journey. Now some of you may be thinking, this is still very interesting, but it's 2-3 years away. Mudu's been trading for this year. We've already sold over 5,000 profiles to the people that you probably have as clients. We're already working with a premiership football team, probably the most famous pro cycling team in the world, and we're also working with the world's strongest man. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to these guys, James is our nutrigenetics director, and I don't think I need to introduce Eddie.
Hopefully this working. Okay guys, so what I'm going to try and do is that obviously genetics is quite difficult field for most people to understand, so I'm just going to touch on a few basic areas. Inflammation is a bit of a buzzword. Pro-inflammation, anti-inflammatory, acute, systemic, it can get quite confusing. So some of the gene markers that we've been looking at with Eddie is his conversion rate of arachidonic acid, which is an omega-3 fatty acid. Sorry, I'm not used to this, sorry. His conversion rate of for meats and animal sources. So Ed's actually got quite a strong conversion rate, which means he'll recover and increase his muscle mass, as you can see, quite easily. It's an acute response, so it's localized to the muscle. It's not a systemic response, so you won't get ill through it. Some of the studies is quite interesting. I'll just say, how much meat do you normally eat? How many cows of a day do you normally eat, Ed?
In general, we're getting towards a kilo of meat a day, and that obviously that's spaced out. I usually try and get my meat towards the end of the day after training. Obviously, that's when you've ripped your muscles. That's when your body's craving the proteins and the aminos. So all my meat, most of my meat consumption would be evening, dinner time and evening.
So, I mean, the studies that are out there suggest that to get the most beneficial reaction from arachidonic acid, you need to take in abundance of 800 to 1,000 milligrams per day. The average man takes in about 150 to 200 milligrams per 2,500 calories that he has per day. And Ed obviously having about 3,000 calories a day at a push, maybe 4. He's getting the abundance and what he actually needs, so he's actually recovering far quicker than the average man. And vasodilation, so 2 words that every athlete should know really. And in plain English, the ability for your blood vessels to expand and constrict. We've got a few key nutrients that we can look at doing to help buffer lactic acid and remove lactic acid. Obviously, when Ed's competing in between events, his lactic acid builds up massively because his oxygen debt, obviously anaerobically, builds up massively. So we can just tweak certain markers to improve the vasodilation to get some more blood, some more oxygen, some more nutrients in between events to help him recover. Maybe a couple of minutes before, but all these small seconds and minutes actually add up. So which events, I mean, all the events that you do are fairly taxing. Which ones you find that your lactic acid actually gets to the point where it's quite unbearable?
I mean, strongman is, as you know, a good test of strength, endurance, athleticism. But endurance for a strongman isn't so much the event, because an event's only 60 seconds. Endurance for a strongman is how fast he can recover for the next event. So for me, probably the most taxing would be deadlifting, log pressing, because it's 60 seconds of 100% effort. And after that 60 seconds, I could lay on the floor for 10-15 minutes and I still wouldn't be recovered. But you've got to get back up and get out there and do the next event because it's a very fast-paced show. So those sort of events, the rep events, is where my endurance comes in really, and it's the recovery for the next event where I always struggle and where every athlete struggles.
So there's a few key nutrients that you can take. I don't know if everyone takes beta-alanine here, the itchy supplement when everyone gets a bit hot and a bit scratchy. I mean, you can actually negate that quite easily by having carbohydrates at the same time, and it gets rid of that redness, itchy feeling. Taking beta-alanine actually converts to muscle carnosine levels, so it's actually the body's main buffering agent. So if you're looking to improve your recovery, most people have beta-alanine before to get that. And again, if you don't really want that hyper feeling at the end of your workout, so try and combine it with some carbs, and it will negate it, so you'll feel a lot better for it. So after the lactic acid, I mean, is there anything that any supplements or any nutrients or anything that you take in between events that you find have given you a little bit more edge? You picked anything up?
Yeah, Coke and Haribo.
I wouldn't recommend that, guys.
Coca-Cola, not Coke. Sorry. But yeah, just fast release carbs just to get the blood sugars going back in. I do actually take beta-alanine before, after, and during shows, just for that simple fact, the recovery process, opening up your little capillaries, capacitors and getting all the blood nutrients in there a lot quicker. So beta-alanine is a big and essential for me for training and competition, really.
I mean, I've just literally got Eddie's results back this afternoon, but I couldn't amend my talk in an hour because it wouldn't have done it justice. So it's quite interesting. When I spoke to Ed when he got here about what's he tweaked in between last year's World's Strongest Man and this year's, what things has he altered slightly? And it's interesting that Eddie said that he's changed. He's having massive doses of omega-3 now. And when I spoke to my colleague at the lab, he said, tell Eddie to start taking omega-3s. So it was quite interesting to find that correlation because he's not had his results back. But to find that taking omega-3s for him would be massively beneficial, and that's what's pushed him past this year. I don't know if you want to talk about that slightly more, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, from Worlds 2016 to 17, I made hundreds of changes, working very closely with blood nutritionists. I upped my training, I upped my physio, I upped my food, I upped my hog cold treatment, I bought myself a hyperbaric chamber. You know, I invested hundreds of thousands of pounds in rehab kit, took loans out. And in all honesty, I think one of the best things I ever did, according to my blood nutritionist, was up my fish intake. You know, my omega-3s, my natural marine fish oil intake. And he actually showed me under the microscope what it does to your blood. So before I was taking lots of fish oils, all my bloods were very clumped together, not really doing much. 6 months down the line, we did another test, looked at my blood under the microscope, and they were perfect bloods. They were the most perfect bloods he's ever seen, he said. So fish oils was probably one of the most beneficial things I did, just for the simple fact it's blood flow. It lubricates your blood, basically, and the more lubricated your blood is, the more oxygen, the more nutrients, the more lactic acid it can shift. So that was one of the main things I did.
And it's interesting with the omega-3s, so coming back to the arachidonic acid again, it actually helps you, it draws the arachidonic acid out more, so you get even more of an effect from it. So it's interesting that Ed's added that in. His response from arachidonic acid's high anyway, so the combination, not saying it's the only thing, but it's contributed him to obviously probably improving his strength maybe 1%, and obviously like you said before, that percent is the difference between first, second and third. So the last section I'm just going to talk about briefly is supplements. Some of the supplement companies out there might want to, well, they probably don't want to listen to this, but we don't need to take everything they sell. So we analysed specifically which supplements you need, which you can probably get out of your food, and which you don't really need to bother with. And the way that we do that is that we've all got the same genes, just the variation of that gene is slightly different, so its ability to absorb different nutrients is impacted. The reason we have these variants is that, if we're going back again, talking to Ed, is his ancestral tree going back thousands of years. Maybe his family grew up in an area where it had an abundance of vitamin C. Then everyone's moving around now. Fast forward 1,000 years, and I don't think Stoke's got loads of orange vineyards, so his vitamin C might be impacted from, if you've got the ability to have an abundance of vitamin C, you've actually built up a protective mechanism not to absorb too much because it can become toxic. Fast forward to an area that hasn't got much vitamin C at all, you can't absorb any because you're not getting any. So that's when the deficiency section in our report is actually applied. So the variation, my job title, I'll put my teeth in a second, nutrigenomics practitioner, try and say that after a couple of drinks is an absolute nightmare. But what it basically means is I'm a gene programmer. So I look at the variants that you've got and I can turn them up or down with certain nutrient adaptations and training adaptations. And I'll give you as to how this works. You probably saw on the BBC, probably about 2 months ago, they were saying, burnt toast is really bad for us. Burnt toast is going to, same with burnt meats. And then you've got someone that turns around and says, my nan's been having burnt toast for 92 years, she has a shot of whiskey before she goes to bed and she's fine. The reason for that is that the gene variant NAT2 is our ability to quash the cancer-forming agents on burnt toast and meat. So I might have a very good variant, so I can have burnt toast all day, every day, whereas Ed might not. And if he has burnt toast, he's in trouble. So it's knowing what cards you've been dealt in life. If I dished out some cards, which side would you like to look at? The blank side or the information side? So you can go through life not knowing, or you can go through life knowing, and then knowing where to sidestep. So that's basically what gene profiling does. It just empowers you, gives you a foundation. It's not the be all and end all, it's not the panacea by any means, but it just gives you a good starting point to know where to build from and where to go to. Have we got any questions for Eddie, probably?
I'm sure there must be some questions. I'll come into the front here first.
You were a swimmer when you were younger. How's that affected you, helped you become a strongman, or how does a baseline fitness help you from being a swimmer?
Yeah, not a lot of people know this. I was a national champion swimmer when I was between ages 10 and 13, and to be honest, that's probably the secret to my success nowadays. It's not only the lung capacity, but swimming is one of the only sports that actually trains the heart, the aortic valve, because you hold your breath when you train, and it stretches all those aortic valves, and it strengthens them massively. So, you know, I've reached a body weight of 30.5 stone, and if you were to speak to a doctor, I should have had a heart attack 10 times over 10 years ago, you know, but I haven't. And I think the secret is I've done that, you know, I've conditioned my body so well from swimming, and with the lung capacity. I've had the lung capacity to get the extra oxygen in and bear with this extra weight, basically.
Cool. Any more questions this side? Oh, I can go. Oh, there's one there.
Hi Eddie, how are you? Quick one for you. You mentioned that you've upped your fish oils. So what have you upped them from, and where are they currently now in terms of milligrams?
Well, before Worlds 2016, I wasn't taking any fish oils at all, nothing. So, you know, and then on the advice of a blood nutritionist, I was taking high-strength fish oil with fish oil tablets as well, and just up my doses. I couldn't tell you the dose, but it was, you know, I was taking a sort of 20 to 30 mil of fish oil a day. So that gives you some idea. Something like 5,000 milligram per 5 mil or something like that. So it works out pretty high.
Okay, guys, questions this side. Someone this side must have a quote. There we go, straight at the front.
How long ago did you do the DNA testing, and how did that affect your training?
We profiled Eddie 4 weeks ago and literally got his results back this afternoon. So it's going to take me 2 weeks. So the gene profile we've done on it is fairly extensive. So it's going to take a couple of weeks to compile the data. I've got some of it now, but not all of it. So what we're going to do is, Eddie's on his social media, we can start drip feeding things out, what micronutrients he reacts to, how it's going to adjust his training, and he can join us basically on the journey really, because we'll be doing this for the next 6 months to a year and seeing where it goes, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I said yes to this is basically that I'm always of the concept of if it adds 1% to your performance, I'll do it, you know, and the amount of time and effort and money I've put into the sport already, for what this costs, I just see it as a no-brainer. You know, if it had 0.1% in performance, it's worth it. But you know, this could tell me from my DNA ancestry whether I need to take a high spinach diet, whether I need to eat more carbs, more fats. You know, let's put it in layman terms. If my ancestors have, say, lived in Greece for thousands and thousands and thousands of years and eating nothing but chicken, and then all of a sudden moved to England and we started eating beef, you know, you've got to know what you've got to eat. Basically, you want to know what your DNA is programmed for. Because if you start putting news like milk, we're not susceptible to milk, are we really? But we eat it. But some people are more susceptible than others, and that's down to the DNA. We can find that out. So it's going to be worth it for me for the diet more than anything, to find out what minerals and what I'm deficient in naturally. You know, what I'm genetically built to be a deficient in, and what I'm over efficient in. So it'll be very good to me to find all that out.
The reporting is about 70% nutrition and about 30% exercise. So we mainly focus on the nutrients that you should have. The report also gives you information on time under tension, how long you should be in the gym before you overtrain, sets v rests. So there's quite a lot of information in there, but it's very easy to absorb. So we've taken all the genetic spiel and put it into very, very easy. Impacts that gene's expression normally takes 8 to 12 weeks. So 3 weeks time, he's done 30 seconds. Can you imagine what he could do in 6 months time or a year's time? So he's optimized his genetic expression. So that's what we do, is we just turn up the good genes and turn down the bad genes. Because we've got good and bad, we've all got genetic gifts and the weaknesses. It's just enhancing and making other ones redundant. He's a road cyclist, yeah.
Hi, does it take into consideration epigenetics and phenotypes of the chain? It does.
Glad you asked. Yeah. So we're actually going to be I've got a ringer in there actually. No, I don't at all. Thanks for the question. So next year we're going to be the first company commercially in the world to do epigenetic testing. So what we're going to do basically is we do your gene variants, and then from there we can see through the Mudu platform, if you register your fitness tracking device, your Fitbit, your Strava, gene profile you, track your normal data, and then if, for instance, you cycle 10 miles every day and you suddenly get a little bit lazy and do 7 miles, you'll get a flag up and it will say, because of the change in alteration in your exercise or your diet, you might want to take an epigenetic response test, and we can see if the gene expression is enhanced or dropped off. So we gamify genetics, so to speak. Yeah. Thanks for the question, thank you.
Just quickly, how accurate is your testing? Have you got a ballpark figure on, sort of whether you're definitely prescribing the right nutrition and the right training based on your profiling?
Okay, so the gene is 99.4% accurate from the profiles that we've done, and we've done thousands now. So finally, we've got correlations already, and we've actually done an interesting study on creatine. So if people hear the abundance of creatine, most people take creatine. When's the best time to take it, pre or post? So we can actually now tell from your gene variant which is the best time to take it. It's obviously going to save you a massive amount of time and stress, really.
Cool, guys. While I'm at the back here, any other questions? Well, there's one that's at the front, but never mind.
Hi, it goes back to the fish oils you were mentioning. I know Eddie yourself, you say you take a lot of fish oil supplements. Is that in addition to having a lot of fish in your diet as well? Or do you tend to have a lot of meats, like red meat and chicken?
I probably eat fish at most once a week, if I'm being honest. It's not one of my favourite foods.
Fish fingers.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, apart from the odd fish finger sandwich. But but yeah, for me it is chicken and steak and pork. Those are my three main protein intakes.
For someone like myself then, I have fish 4 or 5 times a week. Would that probably not be necessary then to have that supplement as well, if I'm already getting quite a lot of fish from my diet?
In my opinion, has there ever been any harm in overdosing in fish oils?
Yeah, to be fair, the levels that you need, you're gonna have to be eating. You're gonna smell a fish by the end of the day. The amount you're gonna have to consume. So you better be more social and just take a capsule.
Okay, we've got about 3 or 4 minutes left, so we might fit a couple more questions in. Last chance to ask the guys anything you like. Here we go.
With regards to blood work, it changes every kind of 90 days. If you're a blood donor, they say your blood changes and regulates itself. How do you generally test then? Is it periodically after that, or do you just phase it out, pick a day in the calendar and hope for the best?
Are you in relation to genetic testing, or are you talking about Ed with his blood work that he's had done?
Well, with Ed's blood work, do you periodically pick his, or do you just say, okay, now I'll do it, and now 90 days later it could change?
No, it's every quarter. So every 3 to 4 months, I'll go back and have my bloods done, and we'll see if there's any deficiencies, any over efficiencies, and we will correct them via diet.
Okay, it's your last chance. Any hands going to go up? Oh, there's 2. I'll give this one at the front here, and I'll do you after. And then last.
Hi Eddie, I just see you carrying an injury. Will you be alright for the Giants? Is it next competition? You're going to recover okay, are you?
I'm hopeful. I've just got a bit of basically my glutes just all cramped up at the minute. It's in spasm, but spasms come and go very, very often. So all being well, I'll be good for end of September.
All the best. Something you live with.
Cheers, man.
Okay, guys, right. Okay. You got a question? You have? Okay, quickly.
Okay, so just a quick question about pre-workout and vasodilation. Is there a certain product you take separately, or is it just a pre-workout supplement that you'd be taking like during the competition or just before? Or like in general, like nitric oxide and anything that would improve it? Because you mentioned vasodilation at the beginning.
Okay, I heard a bit of that.
Something about pre-workouts. But which one do I take?
Yeah, no, so basically, if you take a certain product, or is it just separate, like nitric oxide and then different products that would increase, obviously, whatever?
Yeah, me myself, I don't really take pre-workouts as such. I don't like the feel of them. They make me feel sick. But the products I do take would be the essentials. The beta-alanines, and then during session I would have the amino acids. So the pre-workout is basically for people that need a kick up the arse to train, and me myself, I don't need that. So you know, a cup of coffee would be more than enough for myself, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, guys, just can we just put your hands together just to thank the guys for their time, especially for Eddie for taking time out, especially with his little hip injury he's got. They're going back over to the MUHDO stand, which is on the opposite side. Is it CJ78, which is that way, and then take a right, where Eddie will happily sort of have a little chat, answer a few more questions, take a few selfies, and have a chat with you. See you all later.